Hey, everybody, and welcome back to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. This week, we are kicking off Black History Month with some legends of our activity. We'll also find out what made Tony say,
I feel like y'all are trolling us by how relaxed you are coming onto the floor.
and why Michael said,
I said, you call yourself the sport of the arts, but you really are trying to dilute the artistic part of it. That's
all this and more on this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
Hey everyone, it's Ricardo, and we are kicking off a month-long series of episodes for Black History Month. This week, we have some current legends of the activity, but we have so much planned for this month, and we can't wait to share it with all of you. From performers to band directors and everyone in between, we are bringing you Black excellence. This week, we're going to explore the current climate of the activity and some recent initiatives by the activity. Before we see who's on the sidelines this week, go and subscribe and hit the notifications on your favorite listening app. Write us a review and share this with your friend. Got a question or a good topic to talk about? Email us at onawaterbreakpodcast@gmail.com or find us on social media and DM us if you want to be on the show. We even have a form now to fill out if you want to be a guest. We love having people on the podcast, so check that out at our link in the bio on our social media. Okay, let's see who's on the sidelines this week. First on the sidelines, we have a friend of the podcast and proud papa, Tony Lymon. Tony, how do you think Colette did with her WGI percussion episode?
She did amazing. I don't know where she got any of that from. I think she knocked it out. She knocked it out of the park. And you know, her mother is a crier, and I was just watching my wife sit with the phone and watch the interview, and she's in there bawling away. We're just proud parents. You know, you spend 18 years saying the same things over and over and over again, and then they're on a podcast.
Well, I don't feel bad about Emily crying. I'm going to tell you, I went and listened to the episode and just hearing her speak. And, you know, I told our listeners on the last episode I was on that I was Colette's first babysitter. So seeing her go from changing diapers and not being able to actually make words to speaking so eloquently on the podcast, it was a good life moment. So I know you guys had to feel proud about that.
Yeah, we're just blessed to have a community of people that have loved her since she came into the world. You starting the party off, and you know, we've just been trying to teach her to appreciate that and reciprocate.
Love it. I love it. Well, our next clinician needs absolutely no introduction, but we may make him do a 32 count anyways. It's the one and only Michael James. Hey, Michael, how are you?
I'm good. We're in the throes of winter guard season starting, so it's a lot. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know everybody on the podcast tonight was running in from rehearsals to get on to do this recording. So tis the season because everybody's going to be in the gym on Saturday.
Truth. Well, I'm actually at a wedding.
You're doing what this weekend?
I'm at a wedding.
Oh.
I know.
Wow.
I know. And it's a color guard person, so we're having but I was playing last week.
I'm just going to say, who in the color guard world knows to put a wedding during season?
Exactly.
Because ain't none of your friends going to be there. Oh, well.
They actually are, so we don't have shows this weekend, but it's a quick getaway. We'll call it a quick little getaway to get away from winter guard, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, before we get to your 32 counts, we had to bring on one more guest. She is not only a former student of Michael James, more on that later, but she's a young Black female color guard instructor with some powerful opinions. Sabine Francois, how are you?
Hey, y'all. So I'm living my best life. doing great, just living, enjoying life, have my little one, and enjoying the teaching in the circuit and influencing other people and having fun, really.
I love it. Listeners, our Sabine was calling in from her car and she's like, I have to drive this baby around to get her to go to sleep. So, for those of you who are parents in the world, I'm sure that you understand exactly where she is. And this just is a testament of her being that baddie out there doing it all. She is killing the game in the color guard world, she's killing the game as a mom. And I am just so in awe with you. Every time I see you, it's like, we always have to hug each other and have our little moment. I just
Yes.
love you so much, girly.
Love you too so much.
Okay, now it's time for each of you to give us your 32 count life story, except for Tony, because I think you suffered through that sometime last season. So, Michael, you're going to go first. Just so you know, you're going to get 8 off the Met, and then you are going to tell us your life from birth all the way up to today in approximately 32 counts. You ready for this, MJ?
Yes, I'm ready. I think so. Here we go.
All right, here we go. 8 off the Met and go.
I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida. I attended St. Petersburg High School, where I was the first American drum major. I started marching at rifle age of 15, some sounds on the uniform. And that's how I kind of got thrown into color guard because my senior year I was drum major, and our color guard instructor got fired. That's how I got into choreographing. I got a US degree from the University of South. And yeah, so I've been doing this for a while. That was a lot. So,
It is a lot. And for somebody like you probably need like a 64 count life story because you missed out on all the other stuff in there, like the Disney days and all the drum corps
yeah,
that you have taught and still teach.
I forgot.
Next time we'll let you add to it just a little bit more. How about that?
Yeah, thank you. Well,
All right, Sabine, it's your turn now. You know the drill. You're going to get 8 off the Met, 32 counts to tell us all about your life from birth up until today. You ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, so I was born in New Jersey, and then I moved down here to Orlando. Oh, my parents are from Haiti, so they came for a better life. Whoop whoop. And then from there, I started off in Cypress Creek Band, and I was playing a clarinet, barely playing the clarinet, like a few notes here and there, barely at that. And then I looked over at the color guard. I said, I want to do that. And then I told Michael, I was like, I'm going to join. And he was like, I don't know. And then finally I joined color guard. And then I put it so fast. And then I continued on from there. And now
That 32 count phrase goes by real fast, y'all.
it's so fast.
Now, Sabine, I'll add in for you. You've gotten to march at some great places outside of Cypress Creek. Let us know some of the
Yeah.
other places that you've performed at.
Yeah, absolutely. So after Cyprus, I went on and marched USF for the next 4 years. Enjoyed my time there. I also marched Phantom and Cadets, and then I went on to go teach a few summers too. And I enjoyed all the summers. I taught at Colts for a little bit, and then taught also here at USF, and then Pegasus too for a few seasons, and now local with the high schools again. It's been lovely.
So, those of you diehard WGI fans, if you remember USF's B show, Sabine is the queen bee, and honey, she owned it.
Buzz.
All right, now that we've introduced everyone, let's jump into some news. There has been a ton of news this week, from the shooting at the Texas Color Guard Circuit Show to the fires ravaging programs in California. We're putting together a bonus episode called On a Water Break in Crisis to discuss the stories with those who have been involved directly. but also what plans should groups, circuits, and schools have in place for different types of incidents. On a water break host, Chris Rutt's involvement with helping Palisades High School. So, after the catastrophic fires that affected thousands of people in Los Angeles, many homes, businesses, and schools were leveled to the ground. Palisades Charter High School, a beautiful school overlooking the Pacific Ocean, was badly damaged and classes were moved to online learning. After discussion with band students on wanting to attempt to have an indoor drumline season, Director of Bands Peter Yee put out an all call for equipment to borrow for the season. Santa Monica High School graciously lended Pali High School a set of battery equipment, and Townsend Junior High School, the feeder for the 7-time world champions Chino Hills High School, donated a full front ensemble, including a complete sound system. Director of Bands Ann Rutt had just received over $275,000 worth of new instruments from an arts grant in 2024, and her previous equipment was sitting in storage. It's the right thing to do, Ann said when she received the word of the all call. We have the resources available to give them most everything they will need to have a successful season. On Friday, January 31st, Ann and her husband delivered the equipment to an office park in Santa Monica where the ensemble will be rehearsing while damage assessments are ongoing. Additionally, Ann will be donating a used floor for Polly to use for the season. Poly High School's Peter Yee was thankful for the equipment, and several students were on hand to move the instruments from the trailer to their storage space. This is more than I could have ever asked for. We are so grateful for the community coming together in these difficult circumstances, Yee said. On Monday, February 3rd, Poly High School had their first rehearsal since the devastating fires on the roof of a car park as they worked to prepare their program, Scheherazade, for competition. Participating in Percussion Scholastic A and the Southern California Percussion Alliance, SCPA, Pally hopes to be prepared to perform in just 3 weeks in time for the Monrovia High School event. SCPA administrators have waived the 2-show minimum for Pali High School to qualify for SCPA championships in April. There'll be part of a future episode that we're planning to talk about what to do in a crisis. All right, Tony, I believe you have the next big story that's happening right now.
Yeah, I was actually out at the SCPA, Southern California Percussion Alliance, judging when all of this news broke, and we were kind of getting bits and pieces from our friends that were at the show. But fathers with military background subdue active shooter at Pasadena Memorial High School within 60 seconds. So, yeah, this is in Pasadena, Texas. An 83-year-old man accused of shooting up Pasadena Memorial High School over the weekend told authorities that he was worried he was under attack and feared for his life. So obviously, I think this was kind of a mental health crisis that happened. Police had identified the suspect, and I won't say his name, and has been charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Authorities say that this person entered Pasadena Memorial High School through a back door around 6 p.m. while the Texas Color Guard Circuit drumline competition was taking place. Authorities say the man told the police he was being chased by someone and he feared that he and his wife were going to be killed. According to police, he left his home in spring and entered Pasadena Memorial and fired at least one shot at a male victim. And Angleton ISD confirmed the victim was a technical consultant. So he was a tech for a high school drumline. He posted on social media he had a fractured bone, but is now back home from the hospital. Police do not believe that they didn't know each other. This wasn't an altercation that they had. It was just a random accident, and this man just picked a random person. When shots rang out, several parents jumped into action to stop the man, and there were 6 dads that took him down, and they were all, from what I understand, from the Pearland High School band. And I've always talked about band moms. We always talk about band moms, because we know in that backpack that band moms have, you can deploy them in any kind of war theater, and they would have everything needed to not only help the wounded in war, but they can end the war with all of what they have in their backpacks. But not enough
Absolutely.
said about the dads. The dads are there, you know, making props and doing chili cook-offs, and now security. So big shout out to these men that jumped into action. And we will do anything for our kids. And I'm a dad, and I understand this. You don't think, you just act. So shout out to those brave men, and I'm glad that no one was seriously injured. And and also, thinking about the person who did the shooting. Obviously, this was a mental health crisis, and we don't want to, even though we don't like the results of that, we don't want to see someone struggling with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of hit close to home for all of us. It was like, this happened, in our safe space where we normally would assume that it's a safe space. But, the sad part of this is that we live in a time and place where these types of incidences are happening more and more often. A lot of the chatter that was happening was talking about, what could circuits do and all of that. WGI did release a statement to all of the circuit partners, and I'm not going to necessarily talk about that specifically, but as a board of directors member, I will tell you that our circuit here in Florida, the FFCC, went into immediate action. We had a board meeting and we have started making sure that we're reviewing our policies on that. So much that we set out for a whole new task force on the board to just really dive into safety and security. I spent some time today, since I am a school district administrator. I spent time with some people who are in our risk assessment office, and kind of talked through some plans and tried to formulate that. So there's going to be a lot of information, I'm pretty sure, coming out from circuit to circuit in the next couple of weeks, just addressing this, because in the end, we all just want students to be safe, you know? All right. So we're going to be working on speaking with those involved in this news story as well. Hopefully, we'll get them on the podcast so we can get some one-on-one feedback about what happened. But I am going to go on because everyone, we have got some exciting news for those who are still looking to march this summer. Jeremy, the creator of the Instagram page Drumcore Today, has teamed up with Drumcore Link on a brand new project called We March. Their mission? To help performers who were cut this season find a new home on the field. Right now, they're building a database that connects open spots and cores with performers still looking for a place to march. They're also working hard to get the word out to cores so that they can fill their last minute vacancies with talented, motivated members. If you or someone you know is still searching for a spot, Jeremy has put together a Google form to collect basic information and streamline the process. The link to the form is available in the bio of the Drumcore Today's Instagram page. This is an amazing initiative to make sure more performers get the experience the season. So spread the word and let's help as many people as possible find a home on the field, y'all. Hey, Michael, the next
Yep.
news story is yours.
So DCI tickets go on sale on February 10th next week. So get there early. If you want really good seats like me, I like to be able to point somewhere and push a button and get a drink, so I don't have to walk anywhere. Uh, get those tickets early, especially if you want to try to go to, if you want to go to DCI itself, get them early. Me, I haven't paid for a DCI ticket ever. Anyway, but if you're a drum corps fan like I am, like just jump on it early, plan, get in there, have fun, enjoy all the great performances and the great shows, and get in there and enjoy yourself.
Listen, I am on a staff for a drum corps and a caption head, and I get all of like the perks of going in the backstage areas and all this other stuff. I'm still gonna buy a ticket because I want to
Really?
watch finals. Yeah, I'm hoping my corps is gonna make finals. First of all, I'm gonna say that, but I like to sit with my friends and watch finals and have like the best seats in the house. So
That's true.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Tony, you got the next story.
Yes, it is dynamic black marching bands are Super Bowl Star Wars. HBCU bands have been a part of the festivities since the first halftime show. This year's Southern University's Human Jukebox will perform before the national anthem. Long before there was Michael Jackson, the Rolling Stones, Rihanna, there was Freddie Colston, and basically what this article kind of does is following Freddie Colston when he was a 20-year-old student from Fairbanks, Louisiana, when he traveled to Los Angeles in January of 1967. He had grown up in a home without indoor plumbing, but now he was staying in lavish accommodations with about 180 other members of the Grambling College marching band. Soon they would high step onto the field at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum to perform in the halftime show of the very first Super Bowl. So, you know, if we saw last year, Jackson State University, Sonic Boom of the South was there.
Oh, yes, we
And
did.
you was done it. And, I we're all here in pageantry, which is a completely different style. But I can tell you right now, my love for marching band is started from Mississippi Valley State University in Itta Bena, Mississippi, watching the Delta Devils. The man who put the drumsticks in my hand for the first time was Don Sias, and he was the section leader of the Sonic Boom of the South. And the cadence sequence that they play to this day was written by that man, and that's how I started. He recently passed away 2 weeks ago, but he started me as a 9-year-old at uh, East Elementary in Greenwood, Mississippi, in the Delta. But one of the things that I'm very much an advocate for, even though I didn't attend an HBCU, um, it's very much in my heart because all of my family did. I took a different route, but what they bring to the table very much is as artistic as we think pageantry is, and when it comes
And
down to
athletic.
it,
And
and
athletic.
athletic and discipline. If you have never witnessed or been a part of an HBCU band camp, you would see that DCI is a bit of a it's on the same level. And as far as the style of what HBCs do, it is more accessible to everyone around the world, and I think not enough has been said about that. And so yeah, I definitely think we're in a season now where I'm thinking, we need to shine a spotlight on our HBCU brothers and sisters, but they bring they bring the spotlight to themselves. And I can remember taking my daughter to see Jackson State University for the first time because they came to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and she was sitting on my lap, and they marched in the Martin Luther King parade, and I had never seen this before, but they were rehearsing at Hattiesburg High School. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden they burst into Sousa marches from memory, and they ran about 10 of them down from memory. And it sounded just as good as anybody's wind ensemble, them standing there. And I was like, this is just on another level.
Listen, I have said on the podcast many a time that my whole existence in this world was because I wanted to be a JSET from Jackson State University.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather used to take me to those games on Saturdays, and we got to see Mississippi Valley and Alcorn and Grambling and Southern University and
Mm-hmm.
Alabama A&M, like all these people. And I love the fifth quarter concert because that fifth quarter concert, they're gonna play some good old school R&B music, and then they're gonna give you a good old school like Sousa March or something from the classical repertoire, and they are proving that they are fantastic musicians every time. Every time.
Absolutely. And you know, I, I I swerved off of the article, but I had to give my testimonial there. I think it's just an important point that needs to be highlighted whenever we have the opportunity.
What's funny is that originally I was going to be a music major at Florida A&M because all my cousins and our family went to Florida A&M in Tallahassee. And my original goal in life was to go there and be a drum major, but change the identity of the flag corps because I always felt like HBCU's flag corps are always like the last. Hey, get the dance line, you get everybody else, but it's always felt like I always felt like the color guard, or they call it flag corps, is always the last to get their love. And just like you, Tony, I didn't end up going to Florida because my mom was like, "Well, good, you can stay with your grandmother." I'm like, "What? No, I'm not doing that." And but just the idea of the what they do and how performance wise what they bring is unmatched. No drum corps. I don't care who you are to have that much flag just drip. No other band can do. Not no tea, no shade.
Yep.
Ohio State can't touch it. Michigan can't touch it. None of that. Y'all can't touch it. USC Trojans. HB bands is just a thing that it just seeps out of their skin. It's so amazing to watch.
Yeah. I love, Tony, you said that it's so accessible for everybody to be able
Right.
to come to the table and be able to enjoy a performance by an HBCU band. So
Yeah.
speaking of, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just saying, and in speaking and advocating for that style, I also want to say in the same breath that it doesn't have to be a zero sum game. That this style can exist the way it is. It can be loved by people just as much as the Big Ten marching style, just as much as what we do in pageantry, just as much as indoor. I think our competitive spirit sometimes, because we're trained to be opportunists and hop on, highlight what we do at every turn, that we feel like something has to be less for us to be more, but it all can be more at the same time.
Oh, preach.
Go
So,
ahead, Pastor.
speaking of HBCU bands, 6 historically black colleges and universities marching bands delivered unforgettable performances because Nick Cannon hosted the inaugural West Coast Showcase with with a guest performance by Grammy-nominated recording artist Glorilla. And each of these participating HBCU bands were awarded $50,000 in grants from Honda for music education and career development. This was at the Honda. Yeah, clap for that. This is at the Honda Battle of the Bands, the nation's premier showcase for historically black college and university marching bands. They marked a milestone this weekend with its first ever West Coast appearance at SoFi Stadium on February 1st, drawing tens of thousands of fans, students, and alumni to celebrate the rich culture and traditions of HBCUs. Attendees were thrilled by dynamic performances from 6 HBCU marching bands, dance teams during the HBOB Invitational Showcase, now celebrating its 19th year. For the first time ever, this year's Honda Battle of the Bands brought the incredible talent, passion, and culture of HBCUs to the West Coast, said Jasmine Cockfield, Honda Battle of the Bands project lead at American Honda Motor Company. She said, Honda is proud to celebrate these exceptional students and institutions, and we look forward to further driving the legacy of HBCUs through our ongoing support of the HBCU community. This year's event theme, Driving the Legacy of HBCUs, honored the heritage of HBCUs and their critical role in fostering higher education and opportunities for advancement within the Black community. Hosted by multi-hyphenated entertainer and entrepreneur Nick Cannon, the 25 HBOB showcase featured performances by Alabama A&M University's Marching Maroon and White Band, the Alabama State University Mighty Marching Hornets, Hampton University's The Marching Force, North Carolina A&T State University's The Blue and Gold Marching Machine, Southern University's Human Jukebox, and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff Marching Musical Machine of the Mid-South. Capping off the showcase, Grammy-nominated hip-hop star Glorilla brought the house down with a high-energy performance that had the audience on its feet. If you want to find out more about this and you want to relive it, visit the website at www.hondabattleofthebands.com or following the official HBOB social media channels on Facebook at facebook.com/Honda Battle of the Bands, on Instagram at _Honda, and on X at @the_Honda.
I think it warms my heart and simultaneously blows my mind that a Japanese automaker is highlighting African American excellence in the United States. That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, everyone, we've got to get back out there for a dance block, and then Tony is going to take us on the hand clap part, and we'll be back with some more.
Celebrating its 25th anniversary, Guard Closet was founded as a consignment shop in 2000. Since then, it has grown to become your one-stop shop for the marching arts.
Do you need consignment uniforms and flags for your color guard, marching band, or drumline? We have thousands of sets of consignments in stock and ready to ship.
Do you need show design and custom choreography? Our designers have years of experience in the marching arts.
Do you need to sell your items and clear out your storage areas? We take in more than 600 sets of consignments each year and return hundreds of thousands of dollars to our consigners for their sales.
Do you need to have your students order shoes, gloves, and other equipment? We can set up a microsite for easy student ordering of a wide variety of items.
Do you need custom costumes or flags? We can help get you great designs from our team through top vendors like Show Day Designs.
Have you listened to our podcast On a Water Break? Weekly episodes and bonus content keep you entertained and informed with what's going on in the marching arts.
For over 25 years, Guard Closet has been here to help. Check us out at guardcloset.com or follow us on social media.
And we are back. Everyone put your equipment down because we are about ready to fill you all with some knowledge. So I want to start with where the activity is today. And I know that we had the WGI Roundtable for DEI on a few days ago. That was a great conversation. You know, we know and understand that there are not that many performers of color. We know that there are not that many directors and designers and judges of color, you know, but that's kind of a baseline. We also know that there are red states and blue states, and there's politics involved in all of that stuff. And there's conversation happening on DEI all around and trying to paint DEI in a negative manner. You know, like that's not about us. We are a pageantry organization, and we have always been open and accepting of everyone. So I just kind of want to open up the floor to my friends on this podcast right now to just talk about, like, where are we now? Tony, I think you have some great words on this.
Yeah. Right after the summer of 2020 and all events surrounding George Floyd and you know, kind of America's reckoning with race and race relations and all of that, I wrote an article for the Percussive Arts Society Percussive Notes, and the topic was this: you know, where are we in our music communities? And I think pageantry is a niche of a niche, and you know, I think because we have such a diverse in terms of our race, ethnicity, our who we choose to love, all of how we identify ourselves, and us being artists, we're gonna get there faster in pageantry, and the rest of America is kind of a lagging indicator. And so what I saw was that we're in a place where we get it. We know those things that you talked about. The and the way we are in pageantry is that we want to stop talking about it. We want to do something about it. We are used to dealing with condensed time frames and having to do 20 years worth of work in 2 days. That's just how we're wired. So what do? I think there's just not a lot of us out there, you know, who have developed into being able to build our crafts, and, you know, all of the things that everybody on this podcast had to do to find those mentors, to fight negativity, not only from, walking into a room of people that don't look like you, but your own people that don't understand why you've chosen this path. There's a lot of sacrifices and soul searching that we had to do just to get to this point. And there's just not a lot of us that would endure that. Look at me. I look like a junior college football coach. And no one understood why I was listening to Puccini. That was just what I developed into. And I had to fight a lot of negativity all around me to go, this is who I am. So this is a finite group of people. And to beat people over the head and go, well, why don't you have this many blah, blah, blah? Well, there's Black people and people of color are like 13% of the nation overall. And then you pare that down to who fought through all of that to be who we are. That's an even smaller group. So the point of my article was we need to turn our focus away from the now and go to what we can do to build a future. And it was something that everybody is looking at someone else. Something Terry Sanders said to me that meant a lot to me. I remember we were in the parking lot. I was in the parking lot with Petal High School in 2019 for the Scholastic World Finals. And he just walks up to me and his eyes were like puffy. And I've never seen Terry this emotional. Terry's one of my mentors. He goes, you need to stand out front. He's like, I know you don't like taking credit for things, but you need to stand out front because in this crowd, somewhere, there's a future Tony Lymon out there that needs to see that you are responsible for doing this and that it's possible. And it changed my whole way of looking at all of this. That's where we need to focus our attention is where are the future Michael Jameses? Where are the future Sabines? Where are those people? They need to see that this can be created because I know for myself, there weren't a lot of every room that I entered, it was all people that didn't look like me. And whether it was the case or not, I constantly felt underestimated. I felt like I had to overachieve to start at zero. And, and from that, I just did it. Failure was not an option. It's like that scene from Apollo 13 where they had like a hose from a radiator and a couple of, a pair of gardening shears, and it's like we got to get them from outer space to here on Earth, and failure is not an option. And that's kind of how I operated. So I think that's where we focus our attention. I think we have everyone's attention right now. I think everybody who is operating in good faith I think that's the majority now. I feel like pageantry has gotten into a place where if you're not on board with this kind of thing and if you're not operating in good faith, you're not going to last very long. So we have the opportunity, we have the people, we have the environment. Let's look at the kids we can pull up from here.
Yeah. What's funny is like when I started this whole journey, I did not look at myself as a Black instructor. I was just trying to do something that felt good to my soul. And along the way, I started, and it was a long time before I even realized, what, and I hate the word legend and all that kind of stuff. It just feels like, for me personally, it feels a little bit self-serving. I don't ever want to call myself that because I still feel to this day that I still have to like prove myself, even though I felt like I've done plenty, to whatever that is, people to notice my work or whatever. But on the side of like, yes, the pageantry world has accepted me and allowed me to flourish of who I am, but there was always that side of me that I felt like I had to make sure that they understood. Like when I was in high school and my friends would give me a ride home from band practice, they were scared to come onto my side of the town. In St. Petersburg, it's north side and the south side. And I grew up on the south side. I wasn't in like the worst part of the south side, But those white kids were not used to going anywhere past Central Avenue. Now, it's way more better now, obviously, but for them to like get on the other side and vice versa, as a black kid, you didn't want to be on the north side of town after a certain time of night, unless you were with your white friends so they could protect you. So it's just one of those things when I started, really digging in and wanting to be a designer, it wasn't because I didn't. Probably I noticed people like Pete Dawson and like, wow, and I realized that he was a world class instructor. It was possible, right? But it was not something that was in my head. It was just something that I felt like I had something to say from my perspective that no other white designer could do. And it's still to this day, I have to choose and be very mindful and demure about what shows I want to do because especially the judging community, there's nothing wrong with it, but they don't have the same experiences as I do as my white colleagues or counterparts, if that makes any sense. So, like last year, I literally did a show about this painting that my mom had, in her one of her bedrooms in our house growing up. And I just remember the painting, and I thought to recreate that. Every judge that I talked about it, they had no idea. So I can't pull from black experiences because they can't relate. I have to pick and choose when I want, which is awful, but it is what it is. You can't ask a white judge to understand where I'm coming from if they've never really experienced it. It's easier on the other side. I can, so sometimes I'll just do this because it's easier for them to digest. Should it be that way? No, it's just easier because, that's what it is. So
I will say this, Michael. I think one of the things why, first of all, backtracking and saying, looking at legends and standing out front, Tony, you were always one of my heroes, and then I worked with you forever. But Michael James was my color guard hero, and getting to see him and do the stuff that he does. So just know that you were my person that I looked up to, and I tell you this all the time. But I think that you, as an artist, are educating more people on parts of the Black experience, because even not knowing the true backstory of that painting from last year's show, that the original version of that with Tiana dancing for a whole minute straight in the beginning, like that brought everyone into that experience. And I think that sometimes we are able to use this art form, if we do it smart like you do, to make people curious about it, to make them go and do their research, because it's no longer a time for us to constantly say, you should know this, you should know this. It's like, hey, this is what this is. And if you want to know more about this, take a little bite of this, take a little morsel of it.
Yeah, and trust me, I grappled with that the first half of the season because of the arena that we're in. They didn't want to deal with watching her for a whole minute. They couldn't deal with it. I'm like, well, would you? And my argument was, would you go to a dance concert and tell them, I don't like that person out there for a whole minute and a half by themselves. I need something else. I said, you call yourself the sport of the arts, but you really are trying to like dilute the artistic part of it. That's the artistic expression of, and it's not like she couldn't hold her attention the whole minute. So I had to have that conversation a couple times. Like, yeah, but when it's apples against oranges, and another team has already thrown like 13 sevens, it's only been in a minute and a half. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to like choose, which, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, speaking to that point, I think assuming or kind of browbeating people for, you should know this or you should have done the work. I think that's something that we need to let go. I think we need to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
If they're operating in good faith and we have their attention, we need to use our voice and use our platform and use our art to educate them on our experience.
Right.
And just assume, and just assume that everybody's operating in good faith until they give you a reason not to.
Correct. But on the
Absolutely.
latter part of that, I know they're not understanding because I don't want to talk about just the 60s or civil rights or,
Right.
it's easier for you to judge me because I have things like going to look like Africans if we're doing African dance. That's easy. That's been done a million times. But I'm making you understand something completely on a different level that forces you to think on a more intellectual level, not something for you that's easy for you to digest. I'm not trying to do roots.
Mm,
I'm not
Mm.
trying to do
mm,
no. I'm going to sit on the cusp. We're trying to get it. We're not
mm,
monolithic. We do so many other things other than the civil rights movement. Allow us to do that. That's my thing. That's all.
mm,
You allow other
mm.
designers to talk about, hell, they can come out and say we're just sun goddesses. You don't sit there and go, well, I've never seen a sun goddess, so I don't really know that. No, they just take it. You understand what I'm saying? So make sure that you're giving us the same feedback. Like, yes, I get that, and judge it for what it is artistically. It's yeah, I don't really understand all of that, but I get it. When George Zingali did Candide or whatever, I'd never seen Candide, the actual opera, but I didn't care because visually and what they were doing, everything. That was everything. But no one said, yeah, but are you really Jewish? No
Yeah.
one. There was no. So I'm not saying they're doing that to me. I'm just saying, yes, I want them. I will meet them halfway, but I can't meet you halfway if I'm already reaching past the halfway point to pull you in.
Wow.
That's heavy. It's heavy.
I digress.
Sabine, you are new and not new. You've been around the block for a while now, but you're the young blood on this uh, podcast today. What are your thoughts and your experiences?
Yeah, my experiences have been very interesting to say the least. I'm thankful that I had Michael James as my instructor, right? To start off in the activity. Yeah, that that really helped mold what I wanted the activity to be like for myself and what I wanted it to be for my future students, right? So thankfully when I was under his direction as a student, he made sure to talk about, be yourself, right? Get get the training, especially as an African American woman that my parents were also immigrants. I never had dance training. I never had that kind of exposure into that. So it was really vital and important that somebody was like, let's open up these avenues and open up these opportunities to you, and this is how, right? But with that being said, our instructors too, he chose wisely. He chose instructors that valued what we would have as far as dance types go, how our hair would be, and how it would be inclusive to us, right? So that our hair was also not, I wasn't going to strip my hair to make it look, a certain way to match. Like, yes, we can all have a bun, but I'm not going to straighten my hair and damage my natural hair to form to this look, right? And I thought that was important. I've also been to other organizations where they gave me a pair of jet black tights and they said, this should match, right? And I looked at them like, huh, what? Like, be so for real. Thankfully, right, at that point in time, I had already started producing my own products. Like, I was bringing my own dance tights that matched my skin because I didn't know that maybe when I step outside of an organization that it maybe doesn't have that I would be exposed to the point where I needed to bring my own because maybe I was the only one, right? And there were organizations where I was the only African American female in that organization. So maybe they didn't know how to cater to that, right? But also, it was my job, I felt like at the time too, to educate. Not to only just be like, hey, well, that clearly that doesn't match me and obviously be upset about it, but also educate them and say, hey, well, this is why it doesn't match. And then this is why that would look a certain way. And so that's where I felt I started to see a shift and a dynamic change because after some time, I brought that to my students. I made sure that each student, if I had girls with curly hair, even now, my team is very like diverse, got a bunch of diverse students. So I even tell them like, hey, I want this look, but can you add gel? Can you do these X, Y, and Z factors to get this look that I'm trying to achieve? And we will give them 5 different hairstyles just so they can all feel beautiful in their skin, but also still as an instructor and director, produce the results that I want, right? And some organizations don't do that. Yeah. And so it got to the point where I think a few organizations, it was shortly after George Floyd, some organizations reached out, and it was when marching bands started doing the no shakos. And they said, hey, but we want to be able to cater to our friends that have the braids. And how do I tell them, their braids are not neat? Or if they take their braids out, what's the next style I can have them do where it's going to look nice without a shako on? And so I made, like, I was thankful that those instructors reached out, because I thought that was important, because they don't know how to have that conversation with Susie, right? Because they might feel uncomfortable saying, hey, your hair doesn't match the vibe, right? But if it comes from somebody else that is another African American person in the community and says, hey, these are your options. You took your braids out, you can do twist, you can do braid, you can do this with your natural hairstyle. I gave maybe like 5 or 6 different Shako options and a how-to YouTube video on how to do that, and provided it to that band, and they still use it to this day. But I know that it took a band director to say, hey, this is what I want for my program, so everybody feels comfortable. And I thought that was super important, because when I was marching, that wasn't the case. Nobody was coming out and saying, hey, Sabine, what are you comfortable with? So now it's trending in the right direction, where we're starting to, people are starting to say, hey, what can we do to make sure all of our kids feel comfortable in their skin, but also feel confident on the floor or out on the field with what we're asking from them. And I think that's where I'm excited to see that, trend forward. And it's nice to see. I'm like so passionate about it. So yeah.
Yeah, Sabine, it's nice that you say, because that kind of links to back to what Tony was saying. Like, as an activity, because we are so forward thinking and we are so accepting of everyone, the sheer fact of when this conversation started happening in the colored art world, it was like, hey, this is something that's kind of bothering us. And people have started reaching out. I know I've had several people, that reach out to me and say, hey, I have a person with this type of hair in my color guard. What's something that you would do with that? Or, the question of what's the best place to buy tights from to match all of my performers' skin tones. I will tell you, when I was back in my day, when I was marching, you had the nude color gloves that did not match my skin tone, especially after being outside in the sun for drum corps, or you
Yeah.
had black. And I remember being at, I'll call it out by name. I remember being at the Pride of Cincinnati, and there were several other black performers there, and we got nude gloves, and they said, we're going to teach you how to dye these gloves with tea. And we had a tea dyeing party to match our skin tone. But that was before companies had those colors. And just, it was the simple thing of like that, of one, having a community of people there with me and being able to say, this is how we're going to mold it. And the people at the Pride of Cincinnati at that time were definitely forward thinking, and that was an option that they presented. They were like, we want your gloves to match you. We don't want
Yeah.
you to have these like crazy color hands. If you're using them
Yeah.
and doing all this stuff with it, we want it to look like you. So I'm glad to see that the activity has moved itself and shifted the needle, so that when you don't know, you feel comfortable enough to go and ask someone who does know.
Oh, absolutely.
Anybody else got anything else they want to say while we in here having church, honey? Because I feel like we are just solving the world's problems just by having a conversation.
I'm good. So
Yes.
Okay, everyone. So let's get back out onto the floor so the guest clinicians can get into sectionals.
Marching by Montez is a visual design business based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, but provides services to ensembles all across the country. Our services include custom drill and staging for marching bands, indoor winds, indoor percussion, and winter guards, as well as custom band and guard choreography for all 3 winter idioms and marching bands. We now offer program coordination for ensembles throughout the U.S. and custom graphic design for all of your uniform, props, flags, and floor needs. In-person and virtual program consultation options are now available through Marching by Montez, as well as custom sound design for your indoor winds backing tracks, winter guard soundtrack, and show soundscape needs. Visit us at marchingbymontez.com, contact us at joey@marchingbymontez.com, and check us out on social media at Marching by Montez.
Okay, everyone, we are starting a new segment called 60-Second Tech Block. Each week, one of our hosts or guest clinicians will be forced to give a 60-second tech session with the section needing it the most after the last run. So basically, our special tech this week has to choose 3 topics they think they can give a 60-second nonstop speech about and maybe help some people out there. Michael James, this week, my friend, you are up. Are you ready for this? So, Michael, you said that your best topics were movement versus compulsatories as movement, the importance of an all flag feature, and Sabine as a former student who has a backstory for something and she has always wanted to know is how to keep a weave in while spinning. Okay, so panelists, what do you think? What topic should Michael talk about?
I think he should be unbelievable.
I believe in his answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hands down, Michael. We need to know how to keep a weave in while spinning. Michael James, are you ready?
Can we get a little backstory?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sabine, give us the
Yes.
backstory on this one.
Okay, so this person claims, that the weave fell out during a hard toss. Okay, but I understand that some other people claim that the weave was pulled out of frustration. So let's talk about how to keep it in for our performance. Which one was it?
All right, Tony, can you give me a 60-second timer on your phone?
I am ready.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. And 60-second tech block.
Yeah.
Go.
First of all, you need to either have a good sew-in or a lot of bobby pins. And first of all, if you don't rehearse with the weave, don't have the weave when it comes to performance day. Because all of a sudden you got bags hot in one eye, you can't see your equipment. I say stick to a weave that can move around the head
30 seconds
here so you can see your equipment. Period. And I can do that in less than 60 seconds. She pulled it out.
60-second tech block.
You have to change the segment now.
60-second tech block.
And it got kicked around the floor for the rest of the show.
I am here for the definitive fact that he said in 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to keep that weave in. And it is factual based information.
And basically it was you got to just get yourself together before you show up to the dance.
Absolutely.
Don't be putting that on other people.
Now listen, I'm going to say the words of wisdom, the best part of that, and I hope that this gets pulled up on the clips, is if you don't practice with the weave, don't come to the show with the weave on.
I love that word. Okay.
Okay? This is seriously, we practice how we perform for this very reason.
It doesn't need to look like a Dollar General parking lot at the end of the performance.
Right.
Oh, well, with that, I think it's a perfect time to talk about what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
All right, let's move on to our host, Tony, or as I like to call you, Sugar Mama Daddy.
There's a whole story behind that. All right, so here's my what are we doing, and I'm coming after Color Guard for this one. This is a World Championship. First of all, in UD Arena, y'all coming out the wrong. You're coming on the wrong side. That's the incorrect side. That's first of all. Second of all, I feel like y'all are trolling the percussion because y'all come out there with your floor and you like woof, and you pull it out and you like hugging each other and like got secret handshakes and y'all just all relaxed. Meanwhile, in the percussion world, we're trying to make sure that our light show and our main stage is working and that all of this and we just like I feel like y'all are trolling us by how relaxed you are coming onto the floor. So that's what are we doing?
It's a different vibe. Don't hate on the vibe.
First of all, I've been to the Classic World Championships. Y'all, it is literally like being in a war. When they pulled that, because I was there with Infinity World, they pulled that curtain back on side 2, which number 1 is wrong. And it's literally like, go! Everything goes to slow motion. And they got to plug everything up. And everything's running. And it was like, go, 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 go. It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot. And we ain't trolling y'all because we too busy watching our own shows when it's world class finals. Those percussion kids are not those percussion kids paid $100 to go to world class finals, but where are they?
In the parking lot. In the parking lot.
So no, it's a total.
Oh man, I just got roasted.
It makes no sense to me. Everyone's watching everybody. Sorry, Tony. No.
Yeah, I guess we brought this on ourselves.
It is so weird. It's oh god, it's a lot.
I'm gonna chime in on this one too because I'm like, why do y'all go if you just like why do you even care about what the show music is or whatever if you just standing out in the parking lot watching people do 8 on a hand for hours?
I just realized when I brought this up that I'm outmatched right here. I'm in the wrong house to air my grievances.
As the kids say, you tried.
I tried.
I will say this about indoor percussion. They will try anything. Like who was it? Strike did some show that had King Kong arms come in at the end of the show. I was like, who? They're such percussionists because they don't see. Well, we can't do that, or that's not gonna. They don't care. Y'all do some shows, and I'm like this. They ain't care about it. They don't care about what people think. Honestly.
If we thinking it, we doing it.
Yeah, there's such an innovation that comes from that percussion world, and like especially when it comes to props and stuff. Like, because in Color Guard world, we used to have a little curtain in the back, and that was it. And now, I mean, because the drum line out there with all this crazy stuff, like we feel like we trying to keep up with all that stuff. Y'all are doing it.
I will say this about Color Guard: the amount of energy, of appreciation of every moment is electrifying. I mean, I feel dumb when I'm in the Color Guard room because everybody starts clapping. I was like, "What happened? What just happened?" Oh, okay. All right. I get it now. But
they just did a backflip and you didn't really need to. But
exactly. But just I can only imagine as a performer getting that instant feedback of something that you've just done and just have it come at you moment after moment after moment. You know, with us, we have kind of a dual vibe. We have some of that, but we're also playing our soundtrack. So there's some of the stuff that comes along with being in a concert where you don't want to usurp the moment with, you don't want to interrupt the moment with your appreciation. Sometimes your appreciation is silence.
Yes.
But that's really hard when you're a 13-year-old freshman and you're struggling with that bass four. It's probably good to get a little applause there.
Absolutely. Michael James, since you were so quick to roast Tony on his What Are We Doing? What are we doing?
God, there's so many things. What are we doing? Are we still doing across the floors as dance combinations in a color guard show?
Yeah. In the show or before the show?
In the show, as your choreographer. It's okay to like make yourself learn some moves or teach your kids actual choreography, not something that they've been doing across the floor in the gym since August. Because we can all tell. If you're doing a tombe pas bourrée into a chenet, into what they call a calypso that rolls to the ground, we've all seen it.
I feel so exposed right now, and
that's fine. So don't roll to the ground. Because I'm 90.89% down. I know you're gonna roll to the ground. That's all. Don't do it.
Listeners, Michael James just came for me.
Explore movement. Don't give your kids the same thing. They don't grow as performers. They literally learn the same thing every year, but they don't grow as movers. So your program doesn't grow. It's just like if I was a drummer. I don't want to just do paradiddles all the time. I want to do some 5-stroke rolls. I want to do some rim shots. See, I know a couple things, right? I really want to start giving them beefier choreography and movement, because you never know. That kid may go on to take dance class in college, and they'll just grow as a human being. Because performing arts is very essential to everything we do as humans.
Preach.
Not
just sachets and sautés.
Thank you.
Amen. Sabine, Francois, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Okay, so this one I've thought about it a few times. It's gotta be with the costuming. Okay. Because, okay, there's some things out there a little scandalous. Okay, so a little less tops for our man. So what are we doing? Okay, I know in Swarm it was a little out there, it was risque, but now it's starting to get risque. So what are we doing?
I have been teaching for a long time, and I will tell you, like, you can tell regionally where people are from by what they're wearing.
Yes.
Because 90% of the time, I'm going to expose my friends down in South Florida, in Miami. If you see a color guard come in and you got thighs out and sides out and everything else, chances are they're going to be from Miami.
Yeah.
They are. They're going to be from Miami.
Florida don't care, man. They coming out.
Or California.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's going on? What are we seeing?
Yeah, but the Midwest girlies, they're going to be covered up, baby. They're going to give you a skirt, a robe. Yeah, it's too cold to do that. Speaking of, what are we doing? Right. But what are we doing is, why is it February and I'm rehearsing outside and getting eaten up by mosquitoes and no seams? That's what are we doing?
I like it.
We had that whole conversation the other day, Michael. You definitely don't do outside.
And mosquitoes in February.
Mosquitoes in February. It was so hot tonight at rehearsal. My hands are, I'm wearing a sweater because it's cold in my office, but I did have outside rehearsal because we don't have anywhere else to rehearse. But I am eaten up with mosquito bites tonight. And it's February.
Right.
Over it.
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush Go.
All right, my friends, we are in the final realm of this. We have talked about what are we doing. So now I want to know what all of you are gushing and going about. Tony, you have a big one right now, huge gush and go, and we want to hear all about it.
Yes, I have in production for a YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel is something that I'm very passionate about. It's called Zero to Hero Pageantry Design for the Left Behind. And just in my travels throughout this entire pageantry, the Michael Jameses, the Sabines, and the Ricardos are in the 1%. And, Ricardo, you and I worked at Petal High School together, and I always call that starting a lemonade stand in the desert. We had none of the things that all of these other schools had, and we just had to figure it out. We had to build a community around it and lift it up from that. But we were fortunate enough to have people in the pageantry arts that were at some of those places that we could bring in and get offer different perspectives. But what I see a lot is a lot of schools, the other 99% struggling. They'll go and they'll see an Avon, or they'll go see Chino Hills, or they'll go see all these schools that have rich tradition in pageantry, and they have no idea how they got to it. And so what they wind up doing is either paying some designer that's not right for them, or they have a bake sale and they go buy all of the things that they think they need and they don't know how to use them, or they wind up choosing a show because they saw Ayala High School do this esoteric dark demon show or whatever. They think, well, that's what people are doing, and they wind up getting in trouble. So what I want to do is bring the design community to those people, to demystify some of that, and to bring some of that, like to show people what it is, how they can take what seeing something they love and design, seeing something that they like and designing something that they love, and understand the fundamentals of it. So that's what I'm doing with it. It's going to be a lot of I'm patterning the channel after my friend. Like when I used to be in a rock band before my pageantry career, and decided that wasn't the life for me. But my producer back then was a guy named Rick Beato, and I've been friends with him for the past 20 years, and he has a very, very robust YouTube channel. So I'm going to kind of pattern my channel after his, and he's actually helped me out with this so that uh, I can do for pageantry what he's done for that world of music. So the channel is going to be 02, the number 2 dash hero pageantry arts. It'll be I'll probably provide all of this stuff when this podcast comes out. But that's my passion, is to make sure that the Little Creek High School bands in nowhere United States get the same thing as the kids in Southern California, Florida, and Indiana and Texas.
I love it. Out there doing the work, my friend. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see this and collaborate with you some on it. Absolutely. And get it out there in the world.
One of the segments I'm doing is called Dinner with Designers, and I'm going to reach out to everybody on here, and we're going to go out to dinner. I'm going to film the whole thing, and I'm going to ask questions, and just see, like, I want people to see how you arrived at being a struggling freshman, with your, flag tape wrong, to what you're doing now. And so that people, the future designers of the world, can see the pathway. And so that the people who might hire you understand that you're human and that you care about what they're doing.
You know that my episode, when I do that with you, it's going to have to be at Crescent City Grill in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
When I said that's the restaurant I had in my mind.
Michael James, what are you gushing and going about?
It's not, honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with color guarding, but just making sure that I take time out for myself to go be inspired by watching dance companies. Or at the end of 2019, I actually started to think to myself, I'm like, wow, you really work really hard and doing this, but you don't ever take time out for yourself or, just treat yourself. So we all know what happened in 2020, but, I started, trying to go to New York more, or if I see a dance company that doesn't come to Florida, I mean, unfortunately, we don't get a lot. We do get some, but not a lot. It's Orlando, it's Florida, right? So you have to go to Atlanta or you go to New York City. So if there's somebody that I really want to see, so since 2019 or the beginning of 2020, I'm just looking forward to trying to see more stuff in New York because that's pretty much the mecca of arts, right? So I am a little upset that I didn't get a chance to go see that exhibit that was out. It's done this week, but maybe it'll show up again somewhere. But I really want to go see Martha Graham Band's company. They're doing some really stuff right now. I did get to see a lot of King Lions Ballet in Dallas. Amazing. And just being inspired by that, not trying to take their concept or whatever they're doing on stage and turn it into a wedding art show. I digress. But just to kind of like get my soul filled back up.
Yeah, refilling your cup.
So
you can't fill other people's cups if your cup is empty. So you gotta fill it.
That's what
Sabine, do you have anything that you're gushing and going about right now?
I sure am. So this past year, I've actually been working on my own company. It's called Diverse, DYVRS. And I was trying to make a platform to just open up a more streamlined avenue for dance tights, jazz shoes, gloves, all of the above for all diverse skin colors. Yeah, so I've been working heavy on that and just really because the more I'm surrounded by my students, the more I'm surrounded just by the arts in general. There's multiple sites for it, right? But there is nothing out there that is a sole site for our diverse community, I want it to be from your most albino girl to the most beautiful dark skinned girl that you have, but where they can just jump into there and say, give me my swatch, match themselves, and they will be fully comfortable in a pair of tights that they can go out there and be their best. And so that's been what I've been working on for this entire year that I've been really passionate about.
Oh, we can't wait to see this come into fruition. I'm so excited for you. Y'all, my friends are doing big things, y'all.
Hey, it's called Gush Go, not Gush and Stay. Let's go.
Everybody, thanks for a great rehearsal this week, and what a great way to kick off Black History Month. Thank you to our guest clinicians this week, and good luck with your season. Will you guys tell us where to find you on socials? Sabine, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's called Fierce Francois, and on Facebook as Sabine Francois.
Love it. Michael James, what about you?
You can find me on Facebook at Michael James Designs, or you can find, I can't remember my Insta, but it's all. Y'all kids know how to do some really stuff, so you can probably find me.
We will link it on here. Tony, what about you?
You can see me on Facebook, the old people site, Tony.Lymon, and Lymon spelled with an O, and on Instagram at Tony_Lymon.
Love it. And guys, as always, you can find me at Ricardo R. Robinson on the Instagram. So you got a question or a good topic to email us about at onawaterdreakpodcast@gmail.com, or find us on social media and DM us if you want to be on the show. We even have a new form for you to fill out if you want to be a guest. We love having people on the podcast, so check that out at our link in the bio on our social media. Or you could just take out your phone, make a video, and send it to us, and maybe you'll see yourself on the podcast soon. One more thing, don't forget, we have our YouTube channel that has many of our interviews as full video editions. So go and subscribe so you don't miss those. So before you close out of your podcast listening app, go subscribe, write us a review, and share this with a friend. Follow us on social media at On a Water Break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break. And go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.